What's up, everyone? My name is Jonathan here, host of the Venue RX podcast. Our passion is documenting and sharing best practices around building, owning, operating, managing world-class wedding venues. And we are on another round of this amazing new series that I am so excited about. It's talking to real venue owners. It's talking to venue owners who are in the trenches, who are operating their businesses and their venues on a day-to-day basis. And we are asking them all the questions. We're talking to them about the process that it takes to get a venue started, what it's like running the day-to-day business, and the things that they're working on to make their business and their venue even better. Today, I am joined on the show with Amy Collins from the Collins off Maine. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat with you today.
You're listening to the Venue RX podcast.
I'm really excited as well, and I just want to shout out right before we even jump into this, hopefully by the time that this podcast airs, you are going to have a brand new website.
We are going to have a brand new website. It's not, we are putting a stake in the ground. We will commit to it.
It's recorded now. Let's put it into the future.
Okay, we have to release our 2024 dates on October 1st. And so I looked at my team, I'm like, well, this is just an extra incentive to make sure we hit our own goals. So by October 1st, for sure, it's launched.
It's going to be there. I love it. Well, and this podcast will be out by then or shortly thereafter. So I'm really encouraging everyone to go look at your website, because both your website, I think your current website's very nice and it's transparent, which is something that I love. But you've got a great Instagram as well, some beautiful photos, but you have a very, very interesting origin story. And I really like to start there. So can you kind of give us a bit of a background? Give us like a year or two, couple years pre Amy owning a venue, and then give me like current day, where you at, and that whole process.
So I never thought I would be a venue owner, to be honest, and transparent. That was not a part of the path. I have been in the wedding industry for 21 years this year, as primarily a wedding planner / event designer. I like to joke that I have been I'm like an OGer, I feel like at this point. I'm pre-Pinterest era. You used to have to go to a bridal show to book us. We lived in the age where cell phones were coming out, smartphones weren't even in existence yet. So it was just such a different world of weddings compared to where we're at now. And I also joke, it also didn't always pay the bills back then. You know what I mean? It's a different industry now. It's very elevated. There is such a design focus. I personally have didn't do this full time when I first got in, but it just didn't pay the bills. And so I was in IT security, so my background, and then actually financial. So I had owned a financial services firm. I have a very strong background in finance and money, which really gave me a really strong foundation to run a business. So I tell people, I'm like, my craft and trade and passion is events and whatnot, but I'm really good at money and management and process, and all of that came by way of corporate America and owning, that kind of world. So, but it's just a different mindset. And I think I was always a little afraid when you're a female in a STEM field, and then to say oh, I'm a wedding planner, it's almost like you feel like you're selling out. That's the best way I can say it. Wait, you're going to leave a STEM field that's so desired as a woman and go be a designer. I was embarrassed about that, to be honest. It was difficult for me to own that and say no, I'm a designer. I like this. I'm okay being a creative. And I think now the industry has embraced creatives, and I am so excited to be in this world that we're in than the one we were in 20 years ago. I'll also say the brides think they know a lot about weddings now, which is great, but also sometimes terrible. Yeah. And so I'm finding that's a little bit more difficult. They have access to more information, and when they have access to more information, it can be dangerous, where we didn't run into this. Pre-era of this, it was here's my checklist. My planner said to do this. I will do exactly what they tell me to do, and I won't know any different. So it's two different worlds that we're in now.
A lot. And I was going to ask, there is definitely that difference of availability of information is insane. And just in, like you said, your career time, it was like the checklist that you got from your coordinator was the holy grail of your whole planning experience. And now people have probably downloaded 3 or 4 different checklists from different corners of the internet.
Overwhelm them.
Exactly, right? Totally.
Yeah.
So you have this experience in designing, you were planning weddings as well, correct?
Yep.
Okay, talk to me about like what's the shift then? How do you go from designer planner to now, what was that spark that was like, I'm gonna open the venue? And also, how did it happen at the time that it did? Because you gotta let us know about that.
Process. So I have been primarily an event designer based out of Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo. So again, we're like the height, you're based in California, the height of like design focus and like cool trends. And I mean, oh my goodness, like we're in the mecca of it on the West Coast, and it's fun and it's exciting and I love it. But we have my husband and I have a 4-year-old daughter. Our son is a junior at Cal Poly. So he is back in San Luis Obispo. And it works because he got to grow up around cousins his own age. And so it got to the point where we were like, okay, he's going to college. It's great. But we wanted our daughter to grow up in that same kind of thing and be around family. And so my family is over here and all my nieces and nephews are younger and they're over here. And so we made the decision in 2019, actually, to move over this way. And again, no, like, oh, I want to own a venue. I'm going to move to Michigan. And like, that was not it. It's, hi, I'm an event designer in Santa Barbara. I did not tell anybody I moved to Michigan. My clients didn't know. My vendors didn't know. I silently moved because I wanted to maintain our brand there. We have a very big firm. I have 12 girls that work on my team out there. We still exist. We still do events out in the area. And so I needed people to know we could still manage it and do what we do without a hiccup in service. But with that, and being a young mom, the young child, traveling is just difficult. And so I tried to actually start to shift into the Michigan market. And I found it difficult, not because design is like, I actually think our florists are super on trend here and whatnot, but I found our venues difficult sometimes to be inspired by, because they were either very old school, traditional banquet halls, which is great for a certain group of people. And then there's this very like urban industrial, dark industrial look, which is very cool, very Detroit, very auto industry. And here I am coming from California, primarily based in, a very light, bright, airy Santa Barbara. My look and feel is more of that, like Palm Springs, just more.
Boho.
It's warm. It's warm.
Yep.
It's very warm. It's very like. It's funny now they're turning towards like Bridgerton, and I'm like, oh, I've been doing this for a while. This is kind of my look, But when I came here as a designer, I was struggling to find locations that I could emphatically say like, yeah, let's go design here. Or let's go do this. And I was like, that's sad because it's so wanted. They were coming to me during the pitch process saying, I want this, this, and this. I'm going, I really can't find you that space unless we do a build out, which is, what we primarily do. But it made me sad. And so it was interesting because it all kind of came to a culmination. It was late fall of November. I think it was November of 2019. And I was on a sales call with a potential bride. And she honestly was like the perfect client, right? Like I wanted this one. She had the budget. She liked my design. Like we were jiving, but I was trying to give her options because what she had didn't exist. And so I'm trying to tell her this, and you could just tell it was like, she was not getting it. You know what I mean? And it was so hard, and it was like an uphill climb, and I just get done and I shut off the phone. I'm like, oh my gosh. And my husband was like listening in the other room. He goes, I can't handle it anymore. He's like a very calm, steady individual in my life. And he's like, I can't do it anymore. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, I cannot hear you have one more couple conversation and not have them understand what you're talking about. He's like, it's kind of like that joke, like Field of Dreams, if you build it, they'll come. And he's like, if you build a venue, they will come, and they will come like you've never seen, but they don't actually know what you're talking about. And I was like, yeah, I don't know.
And let me clarify. Yeah. You had this vision in your head, and it was a vision that you were selling for like a look of, for like, it was a look for like your
a look and a feel and a guest experience. Because really it comes down to, my favorite thing to say is, your wedding is about you, but it's for your guests. Otherwise, elope. And I say that sentence every single thing, and everyone kind of giggles. I'm like, I'm serious.
No, yeah,
this is a really expensive party that you're putting on for someone. You want them to be obsessed with this party. Like, be at the party. Don't be off be at the party. You're the host. You know what I mean? So, but a lot of these places aren't designed for the guest experience. It's designed to make them look good in Instagram. And that's not the goal. As a venue owner, you want a space, and as a planner, where you're going to hear from the guests, like, this is the best wedding I've ever been to. And there's a lot of spaces that just don't lend to that. And I would encourage venue owners to take a step back and for a second and say, what is my guest experience? Great. You got the client happy, but what is your guest experience? Because every one of those guests, think about the sphere of influence that they have. Think about how many times they've gone to places. And if you're the best place they have ever been in, you're the only one they're going to think of when someone gets engaged in their life. They're your sales opportunity, is your guest. And we get so many referrals from our guests. Oh, my mom was at a wedding there. Oh, whatever. And they said it was so great. And they said, I had to come talk to you and look at your website. And that's where we're at, because we are obsessed with the guest experience.
So what things go into a guest experience for you? Like, if you had to give your top 3 or 5 things that your mind immediately goes to when you look at a space, or when you were evaluating the space that you were going to get into, after your husband was saying like, he can't handle it.
Right. It's interesting, because I will tell you, first of all, movement. I think movement is one of the most important things in a guest experience. I think a lot of times people come into like one small room and they might manage it. And it kind of like, if people are not like standing up and moving around, at some point they get bored. Think about sitting in a hotel, or you go into a restaurant and you're expected to sit there for like 4 or 5 hours. You're bored. I don't care how good the food is. I don't care how good the alcohol is or the music. Like, you need movement. Our brains re-engage with movement. And so creating that movement experience, and I'll talk about that in a second. I think being hyper vigilant with your catering requirements is really important. We have open catering, and whether you have open catering or not, doesn't matter. It comes down to your service ratios. Our industry, for lack of a better term, has gotten lazy on industry standards. And so we have open catering. So the only thing I can control as far as how the guests experience our space a lot of the times comes down to, how long was my plate sitting in front of me? How fast can I get my food? And a lot of that has to come with like how many bodies they have servicing the clients. And so when you don't require full service catering, and you're letting the food trucks come in, or you're not making, them bust the tables and all these things, your guests are feeling that. Okay. Maybe the couple doesn't want to pay for it, but the guest experience in that. And so that's really important to make sure that, that kind of thing. So we're really crazy about our service ratios. And sometimes I'll get some flack from the caterers, and I'll say, listen, I know my venue, it seems smaller when you first walk in here, but it's actually very vast. We have many different locations for guests to walk through. And so there's a lot for you to manage through that process. And so we put mandates as far as the guest ratio. So like 1-20 for servers for a buffet, 1-12 for plated. And it's interesting to see how many caterers try to eke those numbers out, but we make them sign a contract with us now. So I think, again, service industry is huge. And then honestly, giving guests different spaces to experience the wedding. So here's the thing. Not everybody drinks and dances. I am, one of those people that you'll find me cutting a rug for sure on the dance floor. Like, I'm here for it, but I get the fact that not everybody drinks and dances. My dad is not a drinker nor a dancer. I'm a drinker and a dancer. And so we experience weddings totally differently. The thing about weddings is they are a time where family and friends get a chance to see each other, sometimes for the first time in 10, 15 years. It is one of those things. If you're sitting in a place where the DJ is having his moment, or her moment, which we all know there is a very loud moment for many people during the dance time, and I'm sitting across from a table, like, you can't hear, right? And so people get irritated and then they leave, right? So you don't want that, first of all, because those are the people who are there also many times closest to you, aunts, uncles, or whatever. It was interesting. This last week, we had one of our bridesmaids came up to us and said, "We love your outdoor space. My grandma has an AFib. And if she's sitting with a DJ in a room, it actually messes up with her heart rhythm. This is the first wedding she's been able to actually stay at and talk to everybody."
Wow.
And so she's in the space, and it made me tear up because that's exactly why having these places and movement spaces for guests to experience, our venue was so important to us. So for us, we have our ceremony location. So from a guest management perspective, they start in the ceremony location. A block away, we have our actual reception area, our location, our main location. We have a cocktail tent. So we have a beautiful cocktail tent that everyone's in for a cocktail hour. Then they move inside for dinner. Then our main garage door goes up for kind of afterwards. And then I tell the DJs, don't freak out because everybody's going to go outside. Like everybody's going to go outside and enjoy the evening and get a drink at the bar and everything. And then I said, and then they'll come in here for a hard 90. And they kind of like laughing. I'm like, no, I'm serious. Like that's how it's going to go. But then, to just have, so we have like a fire pit line in the back we've added. And again, these are not expensive upgrades, guys. It's like, a couple $100 that we have, fire pits and these really cool oversized chairs. And one of the most popular places in our entire venue is the fire pit line at the end of the night. So they're all hanging out there. And then we have AstroTurf. So we have AstroTurf lawn where we put all the cocktail tables and low tops. We put all of our lawn games. And again, little things that you can add as a value add. So like we don't make them haul in all their lawn games. We have them on campus. Shocker, it saves a lot of hassle. So we set that up. And then, in our cocktail tent, we have a bunch of lounge areas. And then at 9:00 or later on, we bring that garage door back down. And then that music, you can hear it, but they're still able to converse outside. So then half the group stays outside the rest of the evening. I mean, literally grandparents stay till the end here. And I am so stinking proud of that. And then, you got your group busting up to Lizzo on the dance floor till, the end of the time. So they're getting what they need. Other people are getting where their needs. So not only just the movement and the guest experience with catering, but like also thinking about the intentionality of your location and how can you manage that? And if you just have like one venue with one room and you're sitting here listening going, well, I can't actually do that. You know what I mean? Then it's kind of one of those things where I tell people, I'm like, okay, then think about what you can do. Like maybe you can actually get a decibel reader and, make sure the decibel's not too high. I mean, I will tell you, most DJs like to push the decibel reader a little too high. You know what I mean? So it's maybe making some intentionality on that kind of stuff, but just being obsessed with the guest experience is, in my opinion, because think about it. There's no greater compliment to the couple then afterwards when people are like, you're the wedding that they're talking about, right? Like, oh my gosh, this is the best wedding ever. We had so much fun. And then not just your high school or your college friends that are saying that, but rather like your aunt saying it, your uncle saying it, like all those people that normally would be like, Irish goodbying out and you don't see them anyway. You know what I mean? They're the ones that actually stay.
Totally.
So I would say that really what made it different. And what I couldn't find was any of that, by the way, where I was seeing all of those locations kind of as options.
So take us into that. You have this vision in mind of what you want to do. Now, what was the process? Like, how do you, because this is really foreign to a lot of people. Like you said, you even had that identity shift. Like, I'm not going to own a venue. So what did you do? Did you get like a real estate broker? Like what was your process practically?
It was the middle of COVID and I had a 2-year-old who needed to get out and we were stir crazy. And we lived in a little town called Dexter. It's like right outside of Ann Arbor. And there was a cute town like next to it called Chelsea. And that's where we're located. I'd never been here. We're the home of Jiffy, like the cornbread company. Like Jiffy, they're right behind us. Like all the big white stacks, that's Jiffy. Yeah,
no way.
It's awesome. They're like the best neighbors too. They're a factory that shuts down on the weekend and has white stacks. So it's like, can I ask for better neighbors? No, this is fantastic. And so frankly, we just got out and started walking. And we were kind of, I'm like, let's go to this little town called Chelsea. Everyone says it's cute. And we were just walking around. And there was this building that was so dilapidated. Like, I mean, I'm telling you, like it's still on Google. So for anybody that wants to go check out Google and Google the Collins off Main, and you see this hideous parking lot. That is what it was to where it's at now. It's actually kind of a fun little thing, but this building was built in 1890s. It was originally Willys Overland, like the Army Jeeps. And then it turned into a Pontiac, and it was a Pontiac dealership till 2007. And then it kind of went into disrepair, and it was called the West Side Gym. And I'm about this close to like finally losing that name locally. So we're really excited about this, but it was like your total meathead gym. Like it smelled really nasty. It was disgusting. And the whole building was like decrepit. And so in 2018, the actual building owner took it all the way down to the studs, and then kind of sat on it and had a couple different people interested. So my daughter and I are walking through Chelsea, and I'm just like, you guys, and I talk about this on my website, the best way I can describe it is that it's singing to me. And I know it sounds weird, but like when you're a creative and there's this place that just like speaks to you, or you have like this moment with this like location, you're like, oh, I feel peace in my heart. Like that's what it was. But I didn't want to do it because it was like way too expensive. It was like way outside of what I wanted to do. And I was just like, nope, not going to happen. So I had reached out to a real estate broker to kind of talk about a different space. And I was like, I kind of thought of this one in Chelsea too, but he's like, dude, this building owner, he's going to want you. And I'm like, no, I don't know about this. He's probably not going to convince me. Here we are 2 years later. And John Dunn chose us, and he shouldn't have, frankly, you know what I mean? Like we're in a pandemic. We are in Michigan. That was a very shut down state, similar to California. His fellow building owner was like, what are you doing? This is the dumbest tenant you could possibly pick right now. And he's like, trust me, she knows what she's doing. She's got a finance background, but she also is an event planner. I guarantee you she's going to make this great. And so I think my other thing is to tell people, like, lean in on the people that celebrate you and trust you and want to elevate you, because John wanted to see me win, and he still does. And we are like so close to their family now. Like his kids are basically from my age. We're all like friends and hang out all the time. We are now like one big family. And he took the moment to stop and listen to me. And if you don't own your own venue yet, or you don't own your building, like you have to have that person that wants you to win. And so because of that, when I came to him and I was like, okay, this is what I want to do, and this is what I want to do, and I had all these crazy ideas, and he looked at me and he's like, what? And I'm like, just can I meet with the architect? And he's like, yeah. So I had the architect sit down, and he's like, you want to do what? And I would tell him all these crazy things, but they trusted me, and they said, okay, we're going to build it like you want it. And we kept building it out, and we just kept taking these little steps at a time. And we sold it when it was still 2x4s. Literally, I was walking people around with hard hat tours, and I'm like, okay, here's my vision board. Like, you just kind of have to go with me. And they're like, okay, I trust you. I don't know if I'd have trusted me. And that's how we got here, because through that whole process, the couples like were big advocates for us too. You know what I mean? Through that process.
You mentioned something though that's huge. And I think it's not just huge for venue owners, but it's huge if you are at all involved at sales on any level at all. You have to have a high level of belief in what you do. I think it needs to be genuine. It needs to be authentic. But when you have that high level of belief, it actually doesn't matter if you're a good salesperson or not, like a good salesperson. You believed so much, or like even what's around you. You believed so much that your belief covered over someone's non-belief or someone's skepticism or someone's right. And so when you walk them through that space and you showed them, I know it just looks like 2x4s right now, or I know that these studs, or I know you have a hard hat on, but this place is going to transform. And they felt that from you. And so your belief totally covered their doubt or whatever concerns or questions they may have had. And then they had this incredible experience. That's so powerful. I love that.
And I want to play off that a little bit though, because I think sometimes we as creatives and as business owners and entrepreneurs, we can sometimes not take a gut check too. So there's two sides of that, right? Like your couple needs to believe in you. You need to be confident in what you're going to present. Do not overpromise them, because I think too many people overpromise. I think being smart about it, but I think constantly taking those gut checks as an owner and saying like, am I overpriced? Am I right? Am I underpriced? Am I undercutting the market? Like, don't undercut the market, please. And there's so many of them that do that too. But am I actually offering the value I'm pitching? You know what I mean? Do the guests get this experience that we're saying happens? Like, to be an owner and constantly take that gut check of like, again, the buck falls with you. You own the venue, right? That if it's not happening, drop your pride. I see so much pride. You can be proud of yourself and proud of what you're building. But the minute you put pride in the middle of business ownership is danger zone. Well, we don't do that, or we don't know. You probably do. Take a step back and say, could we be at fault at this? Could we not be doing this the best that we're doing? Are we choosing the path of least resistance because that's what we do as humans, right? You know what? They don't need that. They probably do. The couple probably needs that. You maybe don't want to offer it. Is that just because you're tired? I mean, we're all burnt out. You know what I'm talking? We are just burnt, but we chose this industry. And that is the most important. I don't care if you're on May 1st or October 31st, your client better get the same gosh darn experience, because that's what they deserve. It's what you sold them. And you shouldn't, right? You shouldn't have to sell somebody, right? Like you're saying, like if they trust you and you're presenting a good, solid product, you should. Now, you're going to make mistakes. We all do. We make mistakes every single week. Own those mistakes, like apologize. But at the same time, I think there's so many excuses sometimes put down, like drop the excuses, grow up, take ownership, and make a change. You know what I mean? And brides want to see it, and they're so caught off guard when you're like, hey, listen, I'm sorry, I didn't communicate that well. That was my fault. I apologize. We'll meet you halfway on this situation. And they're like, what? Oh my gosh, you're gonna, And so if there's any I'd encourage owners to do is to do that. The other thing I really think is huge right now, if you are an owner or if you are a venue rep listening to this podcast and your owner's not engaged, they need to be engaged in the process. I truly believe that owner, like involved venue owners is like, I don't do all the work. Are you kidding me? Like I have a staff of 5 full-timers right now downstairs. Like they're doing a lot of, so am I, but like I'm involved. I know what's going on. And I think when we as owners lose a pulse on our business, we're losing a lot. I can tell immediately when I haven't been as involved. I'm not saying I have to do the work, but I have to know what's going on. I have to be the boss. I don't love being the boss, but I have to be the boss.
Well, and Amy, I have a question though to ask on that.
Yeah.
And I want to say this with so much love to all of the venue owners, so I know we're listening or even watching on YouTube, but I feel like sometimes as owners, we are our own worst enemy and we are our business's worst enemy. And so you kind of mentioned that gut check and you kind of mentioned some of that, I guess, mindset switch that needs to happen. But how do you figure out if you are getting in your own way? Because like a lot of times the venue owners that I have had experience with, they want to do stuff because they've always dreamed of it or they want to do it for them.
Do it best. We don't do it best.
Yeah. So how do you kind of gut check yourself and say, is this just me being, wanting to, is this my ego showing through, or is this because I'm a real industry expert at this at my own venue?
I think, first of all, I think that's a great question to ask because I think we're all susceptible of it for sure. I think you have to have a certain amount of ego to even get into business, right? Like if you're lacking that, like you're probably not confident enough to like run it kind of thing. So there's definitely a level of ego that's there. For me, always hire before you think you need to hire. That's my first thing. It's scary. And here's my other thing. Stop 1099ing people. Just stop 1099ing people. Put on your big girl panties, big boy panties, whatever, and hire W-2. You need something consistent to hand off. If you are the one doing all the work, that is not healthy. If you cannot pass the bus test, if y'all have never heard of the bus test, it's a really important thing in your business. It basically means if you or one of your people get hit by a bus on the way to work, like what happens to your business? And if you have not had that, you need to have it. Now, my big joke, because like I said, I was in financial advising before. I always joke that there's 2 kinds of people in the world. There's the clients that say, when I die, and there's the couples that say, if I die, or the client that says, if I die. And that one always kind of cracks me up. And it's a lot of Californians, but they're like, if I die, I'm like, it's pretty guaranteed someday that's happening. When? Hopefully later. But I think as business owners, like don't wait till something tragic happens in your life to prepare. Like, if you want to grow your business, if you want to have a life, like, you have to have people help you through this process. You cannot work 80 weddings a year. And if you are, that's not healthy. It's just not. So hire people before it feels safe, because you have to get through that hump to have the capacity to grow where you need to. So no, you can't do it best. You might know how to do it best, but if you're growing, you can't do it best, because you have to look at the next level of your business in order to truly grow this. And so I would say that. Now, my team has not been in this industry 20 years. So yes, I do know best. Okay. Majority of the time. Listen to your people though. So one of the things I constantly ask my staff, what's going on? How are we doing? I have them on one-on-one. I take them out to lunch. We have conversations. We have coffee. Spend one-on-one time with your staff outside of work, like the venue. You know what I mean? They'll talk to you. They want to be a part of the process. They'll feel ownership in the venue when they do that. But they'll tell me, Amy, like, we love you, but like, when you show up for like this bit at the beginning or this bit in the middle, like, it's just throwing it all off, because then everyone looks to you for all the answers, but you're not really there. You know what I mean? Like, I'm in and out. So I love to call it feather dusting. And I'm going to give you guys an analogy. And I think we as business owners do this a little bit too much. We feather dust. So if you look at a feather duster, and if there's a really dusty piano, for example, and you take one of those little feather dusters and you dust it, you just don't get all the dust off. You just do enough to like do something, but not enough to be effective to like clean this thing to be show ready. Whereas like a microfiber with a little bit of water, like, you go in there and you silently do the process and you do it. Our staff are microfibers because they have to be. They have to like show up, and the wedding needs to be perfect. And a lot of times as venue owners, we feather dust. We come in, we touch just enough. We're here, I'm here, I'm doing this. And maybe you don't even have staff, but that probably means you're really feather dusting the event, which is not good either. So be a microfiber team. Get people in those seats doing what they need to do the job in a way that looks like it's, a beautiful piano ready for a performance. And so just, we feather dust. So no, we may know best, but.
That's a powerful analogy. That's a really powerful analogy. I might have to steal that, and I promise you I'll give you credit. Because that's.
I mean, it's just like, I'm feather dusting, then they laugh, because it's a safe word to say too, right?
Yeah.
Because once your team understands what that means, that's their safe word to be like, hey, Ames, you're feather dusting right now. I'm like,
and they know you get it.
Note it. Yes, they know we
huge.
talk about this. And I give them the authorization to say it in love, like, Amy, you're feather dusting right now. Can you please not come down here, because you have some sociological need to like see what's going on? Like, I'm like, okay, great. I'm just going to walk down, say hello to my vendors, say hello to my bride and groom, give them a couple hugs and walk away. Mm-hmm. So I've had to get myself, we live on campus. That was not the original intent. We live in one of our bridal suites now, or like we have 3 apartments we're in the process of building. So normally I wasn't here if I wasn't here, but now I'm like here. So I've had to focus on making sure I get off campus, because otherwise I sit there and I'm like, I wonder if they're doing this. I wonder if they're doing that, which is fine, but it's feather dusting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stop getting in your own way.
Amy, let's spend the last little bit of time that we have together going through some rapid fire stuff, because I want to know some of the choices that you made early on and the choices that you are making. I heard you're revamping your website, obviously, as we've shouted out in the beginning. So when you first got started in the business, and let's just go back really quick, you bought the building. From when you signed a purchase agreement or something like that to when you actually were able to open your doors, accounting for COVID also, what was the timeline there?
So first of all, I don't own my building. That was a big thing. I don't ever want to own my building. Trends change. But that being said, when I signed my contract agreement was in May of 2020, the height of COVID. And then we went into construction during the most expensive time you could possibly do in construction. Don't worry, if anyone talks about like not being able to get anything, I understand you. I hear you. I was there. And then we opened in March of 21. Okay. And the crazy thing was we had 2 contracts on the books for 21 because everyone was booking into 22 because it was still really scary. We made it through, honestly, the grace of God last year because we were a venue that had outdoor space. So when all the indoor spaces couldn't accommodate because they didn't have the flex space, we were like joking, we should rename ourselves Refuge, because people would call us and be like, hi, we're getting kicked out. Can we come next week? I mean, I think our longest planning was like 2 weeks last year. It was nuts. And so we'd constantly, yeah.
Wow.
Hi, we're getting kicked out. We'll be there in 2 weeks.
How many did you end 2021 with?
21 weddings.
That's crazy.
Yes.
From 2?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's wild. Okay, I want to
So that was that. So last year kind of doesn't even exist in our brain, but we kept building out, kept expanding. We were just downstairs, and we had outside. Now we have our bridal suites upstairs. Now we have a ceremony location. We have a groom's room, and now we're building a guy's bunkhouse. So we have like all the things. And as we've expanded through that process, this year really has been our first real year, I would say. And we are, I think, clocking 62 weddings. I have to look back at the books, but we'll be at 62 weddings this year. And then head year.
Congratulations,
so,
Amy. That's huge. Yeah.
Thanks. It's been good. Social media, I'm scared of it, and I don't like it. So guess what? When it got scary, I hired somebody to do it. And so Callie does all of our social media. Here's a little pro tip that I will tell venue owners that we kind of stumbled on. It's honestly like a gold mine we stumbled on. We have 3 roles. We have our lead planner, we have our associate / media rep, and then we have our venue team. So our venue team is like more of like what most venue owners do. It's like facility rep, and then we have our planner. But Callie is our associate / media. So she's kind of like a flex person between like venue stuff. And then she's also goes around and she follows the couple through the day and takes like snaps of their wedding, like video and stuff. And then she puts the reels together, because it's like really on the back of it. And here's the craziest thing about this. We produce our reels within 4 days of their wedding. No one's doing that, you guys. Their video team is not. Their photo team is not. They are on a high. And now they live for these reels, because now they're sitting here like reliving their day. And we've given them this gift of something that just honestly we fell into. And so if there's a way for you to flex some extra, that's like kind of taking a dual role, right? You've got like your day of, they're there to help, they're boots on the ground, but they're also capturing this marketing aspect for you as a business owner. And so that's been really cool, because she's able to do both. And it's been a really good hire for us, because then she produces those reels, which in turn gets them, them tours and gets them. So it's this like, she's helping on a day, but she's also helping on the marketing and media side.
That's huge. That's
Check out our Instagram, you guys. It's the Collins off Main. Callie kills those reels. She does an absolute epic job with them.
And I can attest that. Checking out your Instagram before, I was like, dang, they know what they're doing. So do you, for websites, did you build your first version yourself, or did you have someone else? Did you outsource it?
So I actually do all of our own website work. Just because I have that tech background, I was never scared of it. If you are at all scared of it, like maybe not touch it. But I will also say, I feel like I have so much more creative, like freedom and like control over our process. We have a very specific look and feel that we're going for. So while Callie produces it, like I'm telling her what I want, as an owner, like this is the bride I want to groom, I want to attract. These are the couples I want to attract. Like this is what we're looking for. This is the design structure I want. And so with that, when we're on our website, we're not sitting there like telling a developer, hey, can you flip this out? Like we're sitting there pulling from our own arsenal going, okay, this looks good. This looks good. I've always used Wix. I know it like it's a lot of rap, like whatever. I hate WordPress. It's so difficult. And hate it. I hate it. It's very, very difficult. Wix does a great job with SEO. I have no problems with it. We are now switching to the Show It platform. And I will tell you, it took a little while. Okay, here's the deal. Watch the tutorials. Okay. I'm terrible at watching the tutorials. I spent the day to do it, and it helps immensely. But we're doing this Show It, SHOWIT.
Okay.
It is designed for creative. It's designed for our industry. So photographers, and like the way that like when you go on some of these photographers' websites and you're like, whoa, wow, they're doing, it's a Show It platform. I guarantee you. So it is a a platform designed for our industry to showcase. I mean, it's just, I can't even describe it. Go take a look at their templates. It's worth every penny. That's what our newest one's going to be. We ended up actually purchasing a template from a designer that's on the Show It platform. We didn't go with their free ones. We went with an actual purchase design. And it just, we have an elevated model of who we're going for, and your website needs to match that person. And right now we have a good website because it's transparent and it tells them everything. And if there's another thing I can stake in the ground, venue owners, stop thinking a lead is a person who's inquiring about a date. That's not a lead, it's an inquiry. And so I don't know about you, but I don't need to be busy emailing back people saying I can tour you this day. And yes, we have this date available. Like, put it out there. Okay. Who cares if your competition sees it? If you have a fair price point and you give great service, who cares? They're going to shop you anyway. Guess what? It's one of those leads that ghosted you. They're going to find out the details. They are. But to save yourself hassle, put it on your website. It is the number one thing when we tour. People walk in and say, thank you for being transparent. It was so easy to navigate your website. They come in excited because they're not like going to be pitched or going to be like, stop doing that to them. I hear about it. They tell me about other venue owners and how they're being treated. Don't do it.
Yep.
Be bigger than that. Think bigger. This is a generation that does not want to be bamboozled. They are so like, tell me everything or I don't trust you at all.
Yeah. And they know how to find the information. If they can't find the information, it's suspicious. It's not like, let me inquire necessarily. It's like, no, we're good, probably.
No, like, I don't like those people. Like, they're not telling me anything. Like, trust me, earn their trust from your website. That is your showroom. If you walked in to a retail store, this is an example I choose on this. If you walked into a retail store and there was no prices on the items, if they had everything behind a glass case and they had no one there right then to open the glass case and tell you how much it is, do you think you're going to buy anything in that store? No, that's how people are acting on your websites. They're coming in, they're not getting any information. They're Googling, they're finding out, they're looking at reviews. You have to tell them, just tell them. It's not that hard. If they're outside your price point, why would you want them anyways? Marie Folio says it best: repel away the people you do not want to attract. Repel them away.
I love that you track with her.
Oh, I love her.
She's awesome.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, these people, stop, venue owners. You're not being that secretive.
Yes, seriously. Well, and I have a question about that. So you kind of mentioned a little bit about pricing. You mentioned putting it out there on your website. How do you determine pricing? And then after that, I'm going to ask a question about finances related to marketing, and we'll wrap up with that today. But how did you figure out your price point? And is that something in your mind that's really fluid because you're newer and you're just like, let's find where we are, so we're going to make adjustments as you kind of get that gut feeling? Or how did you go about setting your pricing?
I think that's a good question. So we have almost tripled our price, 2.5x our price than we were at last year. Wow. We set like a model where after 10 weddings have been booked at that number, we increase it, because inflation, I talk about inflation all the time, right? In my career, whatever, over the years. And it's hilarious because now inflation is like actually being talked about by everybody. And everyone seems to know what it is now. But venue owners, if you are touring for 2024 and you have not sat down and done the math of what it's going to cost to run your venue in 2024, you are putting yourself and your client at risk. You have got to be a business owner. You have to sit down. How much is your staff going to cost? How many weddings are you going to take? What is your profit? If you have not gotten into the profit first model, do yourself a really big fat favor and go download the book if you need to. Mike McCoskey does a great job. Profit first. Pay yourself first. I don't care if it's 1%. Figure it out. You're not working for free. This is not a hobby. And trust me, nobody wants to book a venue that is a hobbyist, because that's scary. Okay. So I work at it from totally a financial model, whereas this is what it's going to cost me. This is where my profit is. Here is our safety mechanism. And here is a 20% inflation buffer plus taxes. Don't forget about taxes, folks. They're terrible. And so I build all of that in, and then I take a look and see where we're at. And then I look and see, I factor in damage. I factor in all of these different things of what it costs to run a business. And then I look and I see where we're at. And then I look and see where the market's at. Okay. And then we're doing some research and whatnot. And then from there we'll go, okay, yeah, we're right at it. We're under it. Our biggest thing is that we offer so much. We're basically all inclusive, but different, right? So it's like we offer everything except food and beverage, where everyone else it's inclusive. All inclusive is like food and beverage and venue. So this is one thing on our website, our new website, we're really working hard at is like, how do we tell a bride, like, we may look more expensive on paper when you see us, don't click away, like stop the idea of what you think we are. Here's what we include. And when we go through it, we're about 40% under market value. So I like to stay on like, be fair about your pricing, but I also don't like to run the high end of the market on that. But yet we provide a luxury thing. I want people to walk through here and to be done with a tour and have them be like, okay, wait a minute, this is too good to be true. I'm like, well, you know what? This is where we give you the savings. And this is where, and I look at them, I'm like, trust me, where I pay the highest wages, because then we'll attract the highest talent, which is really important to us. And then from there, I'm not going to work for free. I'm going to take a salary.
Yeah.
Based on the risk of what I take as a business owner.
Yep. Which is a lot.
So a huge.
Yeah.
And then obviously we like to run with a huge savings account and all the things. So, when you look at that and you have your clients be like, this is such a good value. I'm like, yeah, it is. And I take a paycheck and I pay all of our staff at the highest industry. There is nothing more powerful than telling somebody like, you're getting all of this value and we're not undercutting our staff. And that's important to them because, again, this is a generation that wants fair wages, good work employment, and be that boss, you know what I mean? And provide that. And you'll book based on that. They really do. Yeah. They're like, wow, they feel like they're a part of something like bigger.
Yeah, totally. Last question. And I'm excited to hear this answer because I've loved your perspective on so many things and it's been fascinating. I mean, we almost need to have you. We need to have you on the podcast again, honestly, to talk about so many things because we could go into detail on all these different areas. But just aside, the pricing model, like reverse engineering it, and then understanding what you need based on what the market has to value pack it, instead of going the other way around, is like, that's such a good strategy. That's because it allows you to fairly price, and you might end up with like a higher price than you would think that you would have had, but your value is disproportionate compared to everyone else because you built it that way. And you also know you're covering costs. Right. But you like look at those two
You'll
things.
sleep better at night knowing like, can I? Of course you can. You did the math.
Yeah.
Do math. Okay. And I hate math. Okay. I ironically didn't like math. I was terrible at it. But you have to like know your numbers and reverse engineer your goals too as a business owner. Like if I want 60 weddings, then I have to reverse engineer that too. Like knowing my overhead, knowing my this, like, don't be stupid about it too. Like how many weddings do you have to book a year to cover your costs? Yeah. And then are you going to guarantee that amount? If you're not, like, you're in danger zone. You know what I mean? Like you really need to think about, do you have a healthy business model? Do you have a model that can succeed? Is the market too saturated? Do you need to add rentals? Do you need to, bring on bigger, better offerings so that you can compete in that space and maintain as a business owner?
Yeah. Awesome. Amy, last question today. What do you do as far as marketing goes? Do you use platforms? There's obviously Wedding Wire and The Knot. Here Comes the Guy. There's so many different platforms that make their money off of distributing the presence of the venue online. Do you use those? Are you using Google, Facebook, paid ads, mostly free stuff, wedding shows like you mentioned in the beginning? What are you doing for marketing?
By unpopular opinion, I don't touch Wedding Wire and I don't touch any of the paid platforms. I've used them for years. And there may be industry like pockets, or locational pockets where it works, but traditionally those are very unqualified leads that come to that. Maybe it'll be one or two, but again, is know your numbers, know where they come from. We invested in Kristen Binford's venue accelerator program. I'm a graduate of that. It's interesting too, because I went in with so much knowledge of the industry But I will tell you, I'd never owned a venue. And I think, again, ego, right? Like I know venues. I can tell you so many things that's wrong with venues. Let me tell you, I've been in them for 20 years, but I don't know how to run a venue. And I think being in that program was so important for me. You know, that whole program model of the transparency and all of these things is just a huge thing about Kristen. And, you know, I did my research as far as who I wanted to put my money behind. Don't be afraid to invest in that. I think sometimes owners don't think about coaching in that regard. They're so focused on, I'm going to put myself on the now. I'm going to put myself on Wedding Wire. Like, if you don't have it figured out at the beginning of this platform process, like, I don't care if you have 500 leads. If you don't know how to like manage that, then it's kind of stupid. So spend the money, like making sure you set your business up right. And if you already have it there and you're just feeling chaotic, honestly, you guys, she's worth every penny. So I would highly suggest jumping over to the Venue Accelerator. She's incredible. So that's a really huge thing. We use Google. I found out about Sarah does SEO, SARA does SEO. So that's through Kristen. Crazy enough, Sarah lives in Battle Creek. That is like 40 minutes from me. She doesn't know this yet, but I'm going to make her be my friend because she seems cool. So we took her program just a couple months ago. And to be honest, that's what actually made us go, ooh, we need to redo our website, because we just felt like starting right on that was going to be really important to do. So we use Google exclusively. Facebook's been huge for us. Do not be scared of Facebook ads, you guys. They convert so well, like so well. And make sure you're targeting, here's a little piece of advice, target friends of newly engaged people. The vast majority of our leads come in because we ask them. We'd use Calendly for all of our tours. And one of my questions is where did you find out about us? And a lot of times it's family and friend. And I'll ask them and they say, oh, they found you guys on Facebook. And my aunt, and she was searching and it just popped up and she sent it to me. I mean, so many times. So Facebook ads has been absolutely unbelievably good for us. Instagram ads are expensive. Mm-hmm. And frankly, you don't really stand out. So
do you feel like though, because I know with Facebook, not as many, there's, I think, an idea that maybe Facebook doesn't have as many younger users because they are using Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat maybe or whatever. And obviously they're using them for different things, but do you feel like people who are getting married are on Facebook?
They will join Facebook to get on the brides groups.
Very interesting.
So they may have a it's funny. They don't use Facebook. They don't, but their aunts and their grandmas and their 40-year-old aunts do. But and we find them the things and send it to them. So no, but those are the researcher age and they're on Facebook and they're looking and the mamas look. Okay. Yeah. And that's really funny is that the moms like us because we take care of everything, and the brides and grooms like us because we're cool. And so it's like the greatest thing ever because their mom sends them like 50 links and like, ugh. And then they look at it like, ooh, this actually works. And the moms are like, I found the venue. And they're all like really proud of themselves. But I will also say brides will reactivate their Facebook accounts during that period to jump into these Facebook groups to find out a lot of that. Instagram is definitely more of a curation situation where it's like, you know what I mean? They're going through it. TikTok. Ooh, well, I'm follow along. I'm about to jump into the world of TikTok. Callie has gotten on my case. She's like, you're an expert. You know what you're doing in this industry. There's a lot of really bad advice on TikTok. Yeah. I think the brides need to hear your advice. So we need to get you on there. So we're going to tell you, I can come back in probably 6 months and I can tell you what that looks like. But I read a crazy, kind of a little scary statistic that this newest generation of kids they're a little young right now from engagement perspective, but they're coming. Again, prepare for the bride in 5 years, guys, and groom in 5 years. But they are not using Google. They are using TikTok as their search engine. Whew, that makes me scared. Like, that's really like, it's like, remember Wikipedia couldn't be like a reference site? Now we're literally saying Google's not a referenceable site, but TikTok is. So being a late adapter hurts you. So be an early adapter. And so we're even behind on TikTok. So we're going to try it and see how it works, but they are searching TikTok like they are with other ones. And then Pinterest, Pinterest is a unpaid platform, guys. And for those of you who don't know, Pinterest is a search engine. The rest of them are social media. So Pinterest, Google, they are operating under the same SEO model. Whereas Facebook and Instagram, those are social media platforms. So it helps your SEO to have Pinterest. And so that's a big focus this year, is taking all this collateral that we have gotten and then using it to shove back to our website. So don't be afraid to use Pinterest either.
Awesome. Well, Amy, thank you so much for coming on. I love your energy. I love your story. And I'm really excited for you and like the incredible progress that you've made. And I'm excited to continue tracking with you. And I hope everyone has an opportunity to come and look at your Instagram and look at your new website as it's launched. And I'm excited to possibly hear you at Wedding MBA here.
Yeah, I'm on stage for tours on Wednesday. So come check it out. It's apparently supposed to be a pretty big group that we're speaking to. So I get to speak on tours. So I'm excited.
Very cool.
To meet all of you. So come say hi.
Yep.
And let's meet you.
If anyone wants to find you, what's the best place to connect with you if they, want to send you a quick message, something they saw on this show or something like that?
So you can always send us an email at hello@thecollins.co. But I'm sure, as most of you know, as venue owners, it's a little crazy. Honestly, LinkedIn, if you're a business owner, you can find me on there. Amy Collins, I'm going to be Amy Ackerman Collins on there. But if it's business related or if you have like a question, like that's probably the best platform to do that on, just during at least the season, because it's a little like, oh gosh, my email just keeps. However, I will say our email accidentally shut off like 2 days ago or like last week. It's this whole thing. I didn't realize the host situation, long story short, but my email didn't work for 2.5 days in the middle of the season. Oh yeah. Big moment. And I was like, it turned back on. I was like, fills up. I was like, oh, I've never been so happy to have a full inbox in my life. And it's like, gosh, it's weird to be grateful about weird things sometimes.
So
full
true.
inbox when your host has been shut off for 2 days is an oddly gratifying experience. So
you're like, I can catch up.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I love a full inbox. I love that dinging noise right now.
Yep. I know the feeling. Cool. Well, Amy, thank you again so much. And thank you to our listeners, everyone who's listening. And whether you're on podcast or on our YouTube channel, I'm really grateful you're checking in with this. Please check out Amy, and we'll see you all in the next video.